everybody, and welcome. Our first live since we returned home from the Netherlands. And yes, we did survive. And today we thought we'd review a few things that we probably touched on during the some of the videos, if you saw some of our videos that we made. And maybe some we didn't. And some more personal insights to everything after the trip. And everything's working there. Fine, that's good. Okay, but let's first of all see who's joining us. Everybody's coming in. Of course, our number one fan, Russ of Quilt Meets World. He's here first, and on his heels we have Nina as well. And Faith is here. Hi, Faith. And Caroline is here, and Betty, and Charlotte, and Inez, and Mona, and Gloria, and Julie. There's Julie. Julie, we missed you on Wednesday. Marilyn. Let's see. Tamala. Sue Norfleet. Good afternoon, Stephen Walter. Thanks for this. Betty. No, I said Betty before. Okay. She was up higher.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Open your ears.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, well, you're
still not here.
Yeah, really. So Sue says, thanks for the smoky haze. You're welcome, Sue. It's the new Canadian plan. We're going to smoke out all of the Republicans. Yeah, that's how we're doing it. It's funny that you get the smoke. We don't.
We haven't gotten it yet.
Yet, but it'll probably come. I mean, it's summer. We used to think we had only 2 seasons. You know, winter and construction. Now we have winter, construction, and smoke in this country. Let's see. Cindy's here. Hi, Cindy. And Andy's here. Hi, Andy. And Jean E is here as well. And let's see. Who else have we got? We've got Judy. And Dubrovka is here as well. And if your husband's watching, hello to Dubrovka's husband, because she told me that her husband likes to watch us too. Candace is here. Sandra Lee is here. Hello, glad you had a safe trip. Sandy from Illinois. Well, thank you, Sandy. We did. Vicky is here. Hi, Vicky. Mary is here as well. Karen from Vancouver, USA. Yeah, I know Brenda. You won't know what that means. She said she enjoyed the daily travel videos. Looking forward to the next trip. Well, you don't have to wait long. Talk more about that later. Marjan is here. Oh, you've been reduced to a W. I'm Stephen, you're W.
That's fine.
Judy is here. Oh, I guess her little finger slipped. Marjan's only got the W out. Diana is here. Hello, Diana. So everybody's here. It's good to, well, we can't really see you, but it's nice to see you in the chat today. We missed everybody. Pat is here. Hi, Pat. Too. So yeah. But anyways, I'm sure for many of you, if you watch the videos that I made every day, that you felt you were with us. And that was what we were going for. Grant is here. Hi, Grant. He enjoyed seeing the Netherlands. It's a beautiful country. It's a small one. Bit wet. But, you know, talk about your wet basements. But anyways, oh, and Dubrovka says, hello from my husband, Al. Okay. Or is he AI?
Or A1.
Or A1. Ooh, that sauce. Anyways, okay, so let's start off with what we've been working on. Well, working on trying to get back into the routine of things, of course. Walter's been busy planning our next trip, which is at the end of July. My travel agent, you know.
I'm just getting things squared away. I think I've got everything kind of squared away before we go. So
yeah, we're going to go by train when we're over in England as well. But we're going to talk a little bit more about that, because we're going to talk about the train system in the Netherlands, and apparently England's not so good, so we don't know what to expect there, but we'll talk about that in a moment. I have been working on something, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit more detail on Idiot Quilter this week, but I'll show you a little preview of it. And it is this. And this is what I call my gnome landscape. I have done actually a series of videos that I'll put all together when it's completely finished, because this is kind of where I'm combining different things, different files, programs, patterns, whatever you want to call, from In the Hoop embroidery to put this all together. It was a bit of an experiment, and I didn't have much of a plan, and I'll talk more about that on the Idiot Quilter. I finished the top today. It's already been backed. Tomorrow, I've already made my binding. Tomorrow, I'm going to bind it. And hopefully on the Idiot Quilter on Tuesday, I will have a picture of what the final result is. But that's what I've been busy on, and I'm glad it's just about done because I have all kinds of other projects that I need to get on with. And I got a little waylaid yesterday by another project, which I'm going to talk about on Idiot Quilter this week too. I'm not going to show that to you today. I'll save it for the Idiot Quilter. You know, if I show you everything today, you won't tune into Idiot Quilter. So there you go. At least that's my theory. So yeah, and so you've been working on England. Yeah. So
Haven't done any.
What's that?
Haven't done any plans
Sewing?
for sewing. Yeah.
No, well, it's been a little bit hard to get ourselves adjusted again to humdrum everyday life after the trip, but it was a good trip. More about that in a minute. Just checking who's come in. Joan is here. Hi, Joan. Thank you, Joan. Dubrovka says it's short for Alan. Oh, it's Al. Okay. And Bonnie's here. Charlotte says she loves the gnome scene. Thank you, Charlotte. Okay, so announcements. Sewing with Stephen. We're back on schedule. In fact, we've already done one since we came back. We came back Tuesday afternoon. So on Wednesday, I did a sewing with Stephen, and there were a few of you there on that. And yeah, so we'll continue. Wednesdays, 9 a.m. start time. Come and go as you please. And links are always in the show notes for it, in everything, including today. So that's out of the way. We did a So Chatty this week. And I decided to talk about buying fabric in Netherlands because we had mentioned that our primary focus was not going to be to buy fabric, but if we were in the vicinity of some quilt stores, if we could find any or the opportunities came up, we would give it a go. Well, we talked all about that on Friday on So Chatty. So if you haven't seen that yet, you may want to tune into it to find out. It's a little different over there when it comes to quilting. I don't think it's as popular there as it is here in North America, and not as many stores. And the couple that we were in, basically there wasn't anything that we couldn't get here, and a lot more expensive there. A lot more. So yeah, and I talked to one lady, and unfortunately I didn't get any video when I was talking to her because
You pushed the wrong button.
I did something. Whatever. I got so enthused about talking to this lady about her store and that, and she told me that basically, yeah, fabric, they know fabric's expensive there, and she says it's because of what they have to pay to get it there. You know, which I pretty much figured out,
Yeah, like they have the same manufacturers that we have here. There's only a couple of different kinds of fabrics that you can get there that you aren't really available there. And in her particular store, I did pull one thing off the shelf that looked kind of interesting, but it was a fabric I could get here, a brand that I could get here.
Yeah.
And it was about double what, actually more than double than what I would have to pay here for that same fabric. So, but she had a couple of German fabrics there, but I didn't really like the pattern on them. So
yeah, they were kind of drab too.
Yeah,
they were gray, kind of.
And there is a fabric called Dutch Heritage fabric that you can get there, but it's very floral, and I'm not very floral, so.
It's basically what I call
But
old
she
lady
didn't
fabric.
she didn't really have any of that in stock in her store. She recommended to go store in Amsterdam, and that store would have been hard for us to get to because there was only one day that we could have gone to it. We kind of forgot to go to it.
Yeah.
And we weren't in the vicinity of Amsterdam again until later on, and that store was not open on the day that we were there.
No. So yeah, but we also didn't have a whole lot of room to put a whole lot of stuff.
No, and like I said, I've seen the Dutch Heritage fabric before. There are some stores in Canada that do sell it or have had it, and it's very floral. And for my perspective, for making a shirt, I wouldn't make a shirt out of it.
Yeah,
So,
sort of think 1930s reproduction fabrics, or Lori Holt, that kind of style. It's what I call old lady fabric. Sorry. But although after doing the Barnstar sampler, I do have a new appreciation for the kind of fabric. It kind of has grown on me. But yeah, there wasn't anything. Now, we did go to a textile market, and we did a whole video about that, and you saw what we bought at it. But for the most part, the selection at that market of quilting cotton was very, very scarce.
yeah, it was mostly a type of polyester fabric. It would be easy for somebody to make a dress out of.
Yeah, it was garment fabric, or drapery fabric, or upholstery fabric.
Yeah, like they had linen, and they had garment fabric. They had some leather. They had a lot of tapestry type fabric, with like the stuff that we bought. Yeah, they had curtain material, things like that. But I mean, I wasn't going to drag any of that stuff back, even linen and that. I have access to linen here, and I don't really. There wasn't really anything that stuck out except for the tapestry that we bought.
Yeah, the prices were a little better there, but still,
yeah,
were expensive.
we found we bought some tapestry. The tapestry that we bought at the market was cheaper than what was in the store, because we went into a store in Amsterdam that sold motions. They had some of that tapestry fabric there too, and it was double the price than what the market sold. The market was charging about 16 euros for a meter of that tapestry fabric, and it was 27 a meter at the store in Amsterdam.
So yeah, there was a difference between the two. We're going to talk a little bit more about that store in Amsterdam, though, the other one, later on today, so stay tuned for it. But let's see who's come in while we were talking. Sherry is here, and Joanne G, and Barb, and Pace, and Alice, and Suzanne. So anyways, back to announcements and things. Pop-up sew day. Haven't had one in a while, have we? Well, we're going to have one, but it's going to be on Saturday, June the 21st, because Walter has an in-person sew day that day. So you know how I love to plan the pop-up sew days when Walter can't come. Doesn't matter if he could come, he would be late anyways getting here. But yeah, so that's on June the 21st. There'll be more details, and the Zoom link and all that will come out the week before in all my videos. So, and that happens to be the summer solstice as well. Summer solstice pop-up sew day. Yeah. The longest day of the year.
After my sister's birthday.
Which one? The dead one or the live one?
Live one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so more light on that day for sewing. Yeah. Also, what's coming up down the road in July, it'll be my birthday in July. So of course I'm going to have my Stephen's annual birthday bash pop-up sew day. That will be on July the 12th. That's a Saturday. And more details will be coming out about that. But at that one, I always have prizes at that one as well. So I will this time too. But more details coming about that when we get a little closer to that date. But two dates for you to pencil in on your calendar. Although I really think you should ink them in, then pencil. And that's so pop-up sew day, June 21st. Stephen's birthday bash, pop-up sew day, July the 12th. Okay, so what else? Oh, yeah, this weekend, remember at my retreat, there were some prizes donated by Rhonda's quilt. What'd she call it? Oh, Quilt Creations. Rhonda's Quilting Creations. A lady that I've been to her sales before. Her store's in her house, but every year she has this huge inner driveway tent set up the whole bit sale, and people come from miles around. It is very, very busy because her prices are really, really good. So that was originally scheduled when we were away, and then I guess it rained so much here she postponed it and is putting it to this weekend. I hope it's not going to rain. Long distance forecast said it should be nice next weekend, but we'll see. It partially cloudy. Anyways, I was glad that she changed the date because now we can go to it. So I contacted her this morning, sent her an email to let her know that we would be coming, and I asked her, if it's okay if I do video for YouTube, and she said, oh yeah, no problem. And I'm making a few little giveaway items that she can give to customers and things as well, kind of as a thank you for her giving, some fantastic prizes at the retreat for me. So, tit for tat, so to speak. So that's coming up. So stay tuned. We'll talk all about that probably next Sunday. Other things coming up this week? Well, I'm going to deliver a quilt for my first time entering it in a show. There is a little town very slightly north of us. We're practically in the little town right now where we live, called Brooklyn. And every year, the first weekend in June, they have the Brooklyn Spring Fair. It's a country fair. And they have, people enter things, your jams, your jellies, your basket weaving, kids' crayon pictures, whatever from the school. And they have a quilt category. So I am entering a quilt. I don't expect to win or anything. But, down in my heart of hearts, I want a ribbon. But I don't know. I think I've got the odds against me because, well, first of all, the category I'm entering is sponsored by my old guild. Oops, irony. There. Of course, there's no name of who's entered the quilts when they're judging, and I don't know if any of them would be judges or not, but who knows. And there's big prize money to be won for first prize in the category I've entered it in. $20. Mm-hmm. But on the form, you had the option to check the box, said you would any money you won, you would donate it back to the fair committee. So I checked that. Yeah, go ahead, take the money and run. I just wanted a big fluffy bow. And you know what I'll really be disappointed at? If I did win and they didn't give ribbons, or they gave you those stupid, cheap, flat ribbons that say first, winner. I want a big fluffy bow. And I'll tell you this, if I win, and that's what the ribbon is like, I will go out and I will buy the biggest, fluffiest bow that I can to put with that quilt. Because I'm in it for the bow. Yep. The hell with the money.
Andy wants to know what quilt you entered.
I have entered, well, I don't have a picture of it right here for you now, but it is actually one of Stephanie's designs. And I forget I think that was called Whirling Wonder. And that's the one that I'm entering. And actually, that's one that I sort of did in Old Lady Fabric. So there's a lot of irony with this quilt, really. So they have very strict times for when you can submit your quilt. I mean, I filled out all the paperwork online. Sent me this little ticky thing with my name on it that you were to pin to the quilt, and then the bottom half you fold up and it goes under a little flap so that has your name on it so they can't see your name. It's all pre-printed. And Wednesday night between 7:30 and 8:30, I can take the quilt in, or Thursday morning between 8:30 and 11. Do not come a minute sooner. Do not come a minute later. The doors will be locked, and it says that. Okay, I'm not making that story up. Well, they got to get things ready for the fair and all that kind of stuff, so I get it. But anyways, yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Just backing up. Well, Christina's here, and Josie's here. And Jean E says, yay, pop-up soda. And Kathy's here. Hi, Kathy. Charlotte is also my grandson's 18th birthday on June the 21st, Charlotte. Don't know him, don't care. But if it's on the same day as mine, he'll have to change it. Not allowed. Okay? I only share that date with one other important event in the world, and that's Bastille Day in France. So, Barb says they might give out ribbons that we used to get from track and field day on the last day of school. Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of, Barb. Those are what I mean, the cheap flat ribbons. I want with a big fluffy bow. So I could wear it as a corsage or in my hair or something and run through the streets naked with a bow in my hand going, I won, I won, I won. Yeah, it's not going to happen, but I have a vivid imagination. Susan says she's sorry she's late. Well, we're sorry you're late too, Susan. Welcome back to Canada, Stephen Walter. Good luck with your quilt entry. Thank you. Barb says the flat ribbons with the cheap ass safety pin. Yeah, exactly. Diana says pop-up sew day. I'll be at Quilt Canada. Yeah, we won't be. We'll be at Quilt Canada on the 19th. So, yeah. So we'll miss you, Diana. Yeah, on many levels. Okay, so you're probably wondering, it's June the 1st. Do you know what's important about the first live of the month? I'm waiting for your answers. There's a time delay. I know that. We'll see who gets the answer right. Something special about this. Diana says, that's my birthday on the 19th. Well, okay, Diana, but you won't be here, so we won't be able to celebrate your birthday. Yes, Barb, you got it. Giveaway. Yes. Now, I was going to cancel the giveaway for this month because right now, you may or may not know this. If you're not Canadian, you probably don't know this. We're going to have a postal strike on. So I cannot ship it out yet. But by the sounds of things, I think the postal strike is going to be over very soon. So we are going to have the draw in just a minute. But it may be delayed in terms of getting it out to whoever the winner is because of the Canada Post strike. But it will still get to you at some point in time. Russ says June the 1st is the anniversary of his tattoo. Oh my God, Russ, if I'd only known, I would have canceled the live today and would have gone out and party. Free tattoos for everyone. Look under your chair. Barb says she's still getting mail.
Oh,
well, that's interesting. We're not. I don't know. It's kind of weird because they really haven't talked much about it on the news either. So I don't know what that's all about. But anyways, Kathy says another strike. Well, yes, because they postponed things until May after the last one that happened.
yeah, like they kind of got forced back. So.
Yeah. But anyways, so Barb says, Russ, if I'd only known, I would have baked a cake. Yeah. So how is this going to work? Well, you know the drill. What you need to do is in the comment section, just put the numbers, no spaces between them, no commas, no periods. Do not write them out in words. The numbers 1, 2, 3. That's what you're going to put into the comment section right now. Only put it in once because the Hotbot here, but he only recognizes it once. And so it's 1, 2, 3. I'm going to give you a few minutes to get that in, and then we'll see who the big winner is. So
everybody seems to be still getting mail, so I wonder if you can mail it in.
I don't know. Maybe you can.
We'll have to look into that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, look at them all. Just hot for a prize, aren't they? It's just coming in like crazy.
Where's Russ's smart remark?
Yeah, there'll be a Russ smart remark here any moment now. Yeah, we'll just hang on to that. He's thinking. I can smell it all the way here from Atlanta. We should have a little song, you know. Da, 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 da. There it is. See? Oh, Russ. You break me up.
Did you have to do anything to...
No, it's already set up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, we'll give you another 30 seconds to get your 1, 2, 3 in if you haven't done so already. And then we will see who the winner is, and hopefully this thing works. Pretty sure I've got it set up properly. Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's why I made it simpler, Andy. Okay, people, I'm going to choose a winner right now. I'm pushing the button. And our winner is Nina. Nina Adams, you have won. So, Nina, what you need to do for that is I need you to send me an email with your full mailing address, your full name, first and last, your full mailing address, including your, in your case, it would be a zip code, yes, and we'll get that out to you
as soon as possible.
As soon as possible, given the given situation. Okay, so that is all over with now, people. So back to the previously unrecorded programming. All right, so we're going to talk about some of the highlights of our trip, some things we learned and whatnot. And this time the trip was a little different than other trips we've taken before because we decided, instead of having a rented car, and which was a good thing because, oh my God, to try and drive in the Netherlands, especially in Amsterdam or Rotterdam, in that, you'd probably take out thousands of bikes in a fell swoop with it. Plus, they have little different rules for the road.
Yeah, I'm aware of some of the different rules of the road. Actually, it's not too bad. I drove there in 2004, but we didn't really have to drive through too many inner cities when we were there in 2004, and we didn't have the car that long. And so, I mean, my first thing was I was going to rent a car, and then I got thinking about it, and I just really didn't feel well. I started looking into more stuff. Like, we went to a place called Utrecht and they don't really allow cars in their inner city, so that means that we would have had to stay on the outskirts and instead of in the center of town, and it's pretty pricey for parking there and everything. So I thought, let's try and do the train instead, see how that works. Well, their train system is actually really good. It's almost like a subway system. It's just so efficient. It's all run by the government. And we're really glad we did that because we got everywhere we needed to go pretty much, except for if you wanted to go someplace that was off the beaten track, it would have been a little bit difficult. I mean, we could have taken an Uber or something like that, but we didn't really have any places that we
had to go from.
So it worked out really well, and it was more relaxing for me.
Yeah,
because I didn't have to drive,
and he could drink. So
yeah, and like, I mean, if we were to the place and we wanted to go out, have lunch and have a beer or something like that, I didn't have to worry about drinking and driving and stuff like that. So
well, you wouldn't have been drinking and driving. So.
No, like I wouldn't have had a beer. So
I'd had to drink the beer for you, and
so it was nice. It was relaxing, and actually, it came out cost-wise better for us by doing that. So
yeah, in fact, you figured it out. How much did it cost us in train fare?
It was about
$540 something.
About $550, I think.
Well, that is a lot cheaper than if we had rented a car.
Yeah, like I was looking at a car rental, and it was about $1,500 for 2 weeks. Plus, parking a lot of places are like 40 euros, which works out to about $60 every time you park.
Yeah.
And and then there's gas, of course, and everything else. So
the beauty of the train system there is that you go to the terminal, and we were staying like a block away in most cases. Actually, in one case, when we were in Utrecht, our hotel was in a great big huge shopping mall, and you just went outside the shopping mall and there was the train station. They're very modern looking, they're very clean, and you're told exactly where you're going to go. And there's a train every 10 minutes to wherever you want to go. We went first class most of the time. Now, there's a reason for that, and you when you think of first class, you think, ooh, was somebody serving you drinks and
No.
hors d'oeuvres? No, no. It was just a separate section, a couple of separate sections on the train that were a little bit more private. And because we were carrying our backpacks, more of those and some of it, we wanted to have a little bit more room with that.
Yeah, like you had, the seats were a little bigger and there was more leg room in the seats. And it was, in some cases, it was only a section, a small section on a regular train car that had a few seats in it. And you could tell the difference between the first class and the second class. Second class, the seats are all blue, and the first class seats are all red.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really a big distinction between the two, other than the fact it cost more.
Yeah. And we got the tickets for it. It's all done. Everything over there is done electronically. More about that in a minute. But Walter just went on his phone. He had an app.
Yeah, I had an app, and I just I plugged it in where we were going to go that day, and it came up and gave me a ticket. So see if I still have one on here. There's a ticket. I got a ticket that looks like that.
So it's got a code.
It's got a code.
So you go through turnstiles and you just put your phone down on top of that, tap and go.
Yeah, you tapped in and tapped out. And it was super easy. It was really easy to buy tickets on my phone. And if you didn't want to do that, that was because we were going first class. You had to buy a ticket on your phone or at a kiosk at the train station. And if you were going second class, you could just tap your Apple Pay or your credit card on the machine going in and out. The automatic default was second class. So
yeah. And as I said, there was a train every 10 minutes. And one day we did go second class. Why did we do that?
Just to give it a go.
Give it a go.
Yeah, to see. And and we used we took a tram one day.
Yeah.
And on the tram we just tapped on and tapped off with our phones.
Yeah.
So
it was very easy to do all of that. But yeah, and the second class was okay too, but more crowded. And it also depended on the time of the day you go, because one day we had first class tickets and we went at the height of
rush hour.
And
basically we couldn't find a seat either in first class or second class.
So we stood between train cars, like during closed.
Yeah.
And I mean, we weren't going all that far.
Yeah, the seats aren't assigned, so you have to get, it's sort of like come and go, like first come first serve thing.
But yeah, that was a great way to travel.
And some of the cars had special stickers on the windows that said you had to be quiet.
Yeah.
So there was no talking allowed on those cars.
We'll come back to that. It's a memorable moment. But now that's the train, the way they do things on the train in the Netherlands. Here in Canada, oh, good God, no. That would never happen. They won't do that. I mean, the train system here in Canada, you could walk faster to wherever you want to go than take a train.
Yeah, like it was, and you could get pretty much anywhere you needed to go. There were a few exceptions, but you could get anywhere you needed to go.
And basically, Walter had planned hotels in, like when we went to Rotterdam, that was a hub to get to a couple of places that were outside of Rotterdam, which we took the train to, and we turned, like when we wanted to go to Delft, and a place with the blue pottery, and when we went to
Gouda, The Hague,
Jeez.
Scheveningen, and Delft, all from the central hub of Rotterdam, and also that place called Kinderdijk with the windmills.
Oh yeah, right, with all the windmills.
And there too, right? But in Rotterdam I got this hotel that's right next to the train station.
Yeah.
So we could just walk over the train station anytime. So
yeah. And ironically, I just thought of this. So when we got to Rotterdam, what we usually do is on our first day that we're in a place like that, we just walk all over and get a sense of the city and the whole bit. And so we did. Rotterdam is totally different from Amsterdam. If you want to see traditional Dutch-like construction, architecture, things like that, go to Amsterdam. Rotterdam is very, very modern and looks almost like any city anywhere else
Any
in the
North
world.
American city, yeah.
Because the Germans bombed the shit out of it during the Second World War and basically leveled it. And so they rebuilt the whole city and they built it in
Modern.
So there's some interesting architecture there, but it's very modern. Also, there seemed to be less bikes, but I don't know if there were really less bikes. It was the way that the road system was designed. There were
because
cars.
it was modern, they could increase the width of the streets to regular streets. Whereas if you go to the traditional cities in Holland, the streets are very narrow, and they often have to share bikes and cars on the same street.
Oh yeah.
In those places, because they don't really have bike paths on some of the narrow streets. But in Rotterdam, they could have, because it was all leveled, they could widen the streets to have
To
paths
accommodate
and cars
modern
and
transportation
trams and everything else.
So in Rotterdam, so we were walking around and, like we like to go to places, little cafes or something for lunch and stuff like that, as you saw in the video. Well, we thought, well, there's not a heck of a lot of choice here. Then we realized, and here's what was ironic about it, only within a couple of blocks of our hotel was a whole shopping area, very modern, like an open air kind of mall thing with all kinds of bars and restaurants and stores and everything like that. And we didn't discover that until about the second day or so that we were there with it. So, yeah. Anyways, it is an interesting place. One of the things that we saw, I just thought of too, in Rotterdam, was it Rotterdam? Was that Utrecht, where they were doing the surfing?
That was Rotterdam. Yeah. They had they had an outdoor surf park.
In the center of the city.
In the center of the city, yeah.
It was in a canal.
Yeah.
And they artificially made waves, and there were people there with surfboards learning how to surf. I mean, you weren't talking about huge killer Pacific Ocean waves or anything, but it was enough to surf on, and it was kind of neat to see that kind of thing. So yeah, they do a lot of interesting things in
they have some really interesting different things. They really know how to manage water.
Yeah. Now here's what's really going to be the kicker. In at the end of July, when we go to London, we're taking the train system to go to Birmingham for the quilt show and back. Well, we already have our tickets for the train. It's a heck of a lot more expensive than what it is in the Netherlands.
The seats are assigned just like if you take an airline or something like that.
You book your seat.
You book your seats. And I have found out that their train system in Britain is somewhat unreliable.
Yeah, so, apparently 44% of the time they have two rail lines. They're both privately owned.
No, 44% of the time they're on time.
Yeah.
The other 60% they're not.
They're not. So we don't know whether we're going to get to Birmingham on train or we have to walk for it. So, I mean, the tube, I was going to say the subway system in London, because we've been to London several times before, the tube system is brilliant.
Yeah, it works.
It gets you wherever you want to go.
But and I kind of assumed that the railway system would have been the same, but then a friend of mine sent me a message, said that he had heard that the train system is not very good.
So
not very reliable.
Fingers crossed that one. And they have 3 tiers. They have your peasant, then you have their premium peasant, and then they have your first class. We're going premium peasant with it.
And even that's expensive. They have regular class. And the only reason is because we have luggage with us.
Yeah, and we don't want to be...
I mean, if we were just going, because you can reserve seats, I would have just gone regular class because you can reserve a seat. But I've looked at, I went on YouTube and looked at the seats, and they're pretty squishy. So I don't want to have to carry my luggage all that way.
And that's a good segue into the next thing that people are asking us about that we did different this time. Usually, like any traveler, we take small suitcases with us. In fact, just before Christmas, there was a sale on at the Bay, sort of, and we bought new suitcases.
Yeah, we've always traveled with pretty much a medium suitcase.
Yeah.
Not a carry-on, but a medium suitcase.
Yeah, we've always checked it, kind of thing. So we have these new suitcases, and we still have these new suitcases that have never been used, because then Walter got the idea that we should get backpacks. And of course, you know him. He did all the research for about 3 weeks, and finally decided on Rick Steves' backpacks system. Which, if you're not familiar with Rick Steves, he's famous for doing a lot of travel videos. He had a program on TV at one point in time for many, many years. He's on YouTube and everything like that. So we bought these backpacks, and that worked out really great, especially when you're traveling on trains. They were smaller, but it was amazing how much stuff you could get into a backpack.
Well, those backpacks were, I had looked at regular commercial backpacks, and then I just decided to take a chance on after reviewing Rick Steves. Now, the big comment of the Rick Steves thing is that they look dated. They're an older style.
But I still don't get that.
But actually, they're very functional, and you can get a lot of stuff in them.
Yeah,
if you want to.
And I don't know this dated thing. Like, we looked at backpacks at, what was it, sale or whatever.
Yeah.
We walked in here at a big, one of those stores that has all kinds of outdoor crap and everything.
Mountain Equipment Company.
Well, those backpacks didn't look that much different.
No, actually, they were crappy looking.
Yeah,
actually, they were modern looking,
expensive.
but they wouldn't hold as much. So I wanted functionality from the backpack, and actually the one that we got works very well. We didn't have it full.
I'm still confused by what you said about ours didn't look as modern. What does a modern backpack look like?
It doesn't look with all the old style pockets on the front and stuff like that.
More for thieves to get into.
Well, I figured it's less. Yeah, I mean, the thief won't want to steal our backpacks. So.
You make them sound like they were ugly. They weren't.
No,
ugly.
they aren't. They're nice. They're fine.
They're fine. They did the job. They did the job very, very well.
Plus, you can hide the straps. See, we checked them in regular luggage, and you can hide the straps in it so that you can just. It looks like a regular light little suitcase.
There's a pocket with a zipper. The straps for over your shoulders drop into that. You zip it up so it doesn't get caught on rollers or conveyor belts when it's going through the airport system. Right? Yeah. That kind of deal. So those work really well. Plus, we had smaller ones that kind of were like a sling sort of thing that I kept, like, those we used as our carry-ons. And they were smaller than what we usually take as a carry-on. They fit so well underneath the seat, because you got 12 of them under the seat. Because I don't like putting anything in the overhead bins, because usually by the time you get on the plane, all the people who are too cheap to pay for checked baggage for one reason or another, who bring things the size of a suitcase and get away with it, they take up all the space in the overhead bins. Plus, the overhead bins are designed for people that are 6 feet plus that can reach into them. I can't. I mean, hello, I can't get in here. It's up here somewhere. So I like to put it underneath the seat, and these worked out really well. And the idea too with those, although we didn't really do this, was that when we go out on our little day trips, I usually have an over-shoulder bag, which is my carry-on bag for the plane to, throw an umbrella in, my makeup, certs, all that kind of stuff, a dirty old Kleenex stuck to the cert. You know what I mean, ladies. Look in the bottom of your purse. But this time, so I thought this time, well, this will be easy, because it could go as a backpack, or you could wear it as a sling, that kind of thing. I think we even take it out one day.
There was one day I used it.
Yeah, but we never even took that with us. We didn't need it.
No, and the other backpacks where we had our clothes in was handy to put over our backs. Yeah. Because if we had to walk someplace or walk up a set of stairs or something, it was handy for that. So
that's what we'll be taking to England with us again this time. So, and I overpacked again. I took 2 pairs of shorts, never wore them. And I don't think I'm going to take shorts with me to England.
Well, we'll be there in the middle of the summer.
Well, so what?
Anyway, so.
I don't know. It was hot over there, too. And I mean, I didn't really feel like, They don't need to see my old man legs. You know,
Yeah.
they might ship us
The
back out of the
Brownica's
company.
asking expensive bag.
I don't know how much we
The
paid for
one
them.
problem with getting those Rick Steves bags is we had to buy them from the U.S. So
Yeah.
and they had to be shipped up here. So
We tried to avoid buying
it
from the
was
U.S., but we couldn't avoid
yeah,
it.
it was it worked out. We also bought packing cubes that would fit in it. So it was packing cubes, and the bags it worked out about $200 each bag when they got shipped up here.
And then the little bags we bought were, how much were they?
The little bags were $200.
Is that how much we paid for those two?
I can't remember what
I
I
didn't
paid
think it was
for
that
it.
much. They were over 100 anyways.
Yeah, they
but-
were about 150 or
something like that. But anyways, they were worth the money. I
Yeah.
can tell you that. And Walter got these little special clips that you put through the zippers to lock them, kind of a thing. So it just in case, like, if somebody wanted to steal your whole bag, well, I guess they could, if you're not attached.
Yeah,
to it.
we've the last few years we've traveled. We actually haven't locked our suitcases.
No.
Because if somebody wants to get in, they'll get in. And in our suitcases that are checked, the only thing that's in there is clothes.
Yeah. So
So
if they want to go through my underwear, that's fine. Whatever thrills them. But yeah, they worked out really well, and they were worth the money. Now there is a Karen says, I was impressed with the urbanism, possibly a peek into our future. You want to know something? I don't think we'll ever be that way.
no,
We don't.
no. Like we saw things there that absolutely astounded us.
They are, you know, I think North Americans have this attitude that Canada and the United States are far ahead of the rest of the world for things. We are not. We are
No.
not. We're living in a fantasy world if we think that.
Europe has existed for hundreds and thousands of years, and they have so much advanced stuff there. It's incredible.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about one of the biggest advantages of over there too in a moment. But we have this idea that we are more modern, maybe because our countries are younger. I mean, what? The United States is 250 years old. Canada is 150 years old. Over there, like Swalla. Walter's
800 years old.
800 years
They were
old.
just celebrating their 800th birthday or whatever.
And old too. So, you know, but old doesn't mean they're not progressive. And they have an infrastructure that they work on. And I think their governments put a lot of money into their infrastructure. In our countries, our governments, doesn't matter whether it's Canadian or the American, do not put in enough money in the infrastructure.
I mean, they have roads there where you drive under a bridge, and on top of the bridge, there's a sailboat sailing over top
Yeah,
of it.
because it's part of the canal,
Yeah.
you know, in Holland. There you go. And you see this boat.
I mean, we saw Amsterdam, there was a spot where they had all these glass boxes in a row on a median, and it turned out what they
When
were
it says boxes, they were as big as a car.
as big as a car, and they had a garage door on one side. They were all glass, and basically what the car drove into them, and there was a pad in the inside, and the pad was basically an elevator for to take the car down to a parking garage.
Yeah. Now, mind you, that particular neighborhood is probably a little more affluent, and it was like in an area where there isn't any place to park.
And we saw another area where there were these glass enclosed staircases that went down into it was surrounded by water, and you walked down under the water to a parking garage.
Yeah. The Dutch really know how to manage water. There's no two ways about it. You're not going to find a wet basement in Holland. And if anybody should have a wet basement, it should be in Holland with that. But yeah. And there was a question earlier. Sweet Granny says, how did Walter do with the Dutch language over there, and how much English was spoken?
Basically, I didn't speak any Dutch.
Didn't
when I
have
was
to.
there. In fact, to the point where I said I would say to somebody, well, I can understand Dutch and I can speak a little, right? And they would just respond, oh, I speak English, they'd say back. And everybody did. It didn't matter where you went. Everybody spoke English. So I didn't practice very much, other than the fact that I listened to it on the TV, and I could overhear other people's conversations.
Yeah.
So,
well, the thing is, I did learn Dutch, some Dutch. I know a few expressions in there, mainly because of signage. So You know, like when I see the word mit, I know it's with. And there were a few other things like panna 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 cocan, pancakes.
Panakuchen.
That's it, panna kuchen. Yeah.
Actually, the water is clean there. It isn't.
Yeah, it does look dirty though.
It does look dirty, but you got to understand it's a canal. Canal is like a river.
Yeah.
Right. So it looks dirty, but it doesn't.
I mean, I
stink.
don't think you'd. No, it doesn't stink, and I don't think you'd want to drink it. With that, but for the most part, it's not like open sewage or anything like that.
No, it doesn't stink. In fact, I didn't notice it.
No, I didn't notice any smell from it. No, the seafood restaurants were fishy.
And the drinking water out of the taps are fine.
Yeah.
There is a lot of fresh water in Holland because of the way they've cut the ocean away from they have dikes around the biggest lake, and it's all fresh water. So
yeah, like I said, the Dutch know how to manage water with that. So everything, it's perfectly safe there. Holland is very clean.
And it's better actually than it used to be when I was younger, because a lot of the rivers that run through Holland are like the mouth of the Rhine. And many years ago in the 60s and that, they had a lot of industrial companies further up the Rhine, like in Germany, that dumped waste into the Rhine, and the Rhine was dirty in those days. But the Rhine is a lot cleaner now because they have taken lots and lots of safeguards against dumping waste into their rivers. So
yeah, they really protect their environment much better than we do in North America with it. And that also reminded me of something else there about I can't think of what it was, but Andy says Europeans are multilingual. Americans can barely speak English. So sad. Yeah, it's true. Europeans do tend to speak more than one language. And
like in Holland, most Dutch people speak Dutch and English, and they usually know French, German, and Italian as well. So,
and Ivy says it didn't look like there were fences beside the canals. Do people fall in, and are they deep?
Yes.
For both questions. Yes, they are very deep. And yeah, they don't put a lot there. In some spots there aren't any barriers from it, especially in Amsterdam on the Dam Square, or no, the Damrak.
Yeah.
On there, that leads into the red light district, and apparently young guys or whatever, they party down there. In fact, they have a big problem in Amsterdam with partying young people coming in from like Britain and other places like that. And they go to the red light district and they get completely loaded and plastered, and they tend to fall into the canal and they have to fish them out, kind of thing, because they're drunk.
And there were incidents. There are sometimes in some cities there's car parking against the canal, and there's no barrier, and it has been known that a car will accidentally drive into it.
So there's some problems with that. Cindy says, was the herring pickled?
No, it's I never did eat. I never did end up having any. But yeah, it's not pickled like as in pickle sauce or whatever. It's not a sweet brine. It's a salty brine. So if you bought the herring, it would be a salty taste, not like a pickle taste.
No. Barb says, I was just thinking about sitting outside at one of those restaurants down by the park. It smelled. Otherwise, where you went looked very nice. Yeah, no, the water didn't smell.
No.
And the water isn't stagnant, which often brings about the smell. The water is constantly moving.
Yeah.
Through it, like a river. Okay?
Yeah.
Essentially, it is a river.
They're very good at managing water.
Yeah.
And
too late, Sandy. The contest is over.
It seems that the herring, I noticed when I went as a kid and visited Holland with my parents, there were herring stands all over the place. But when we visited this time, most of the herring stands we saw were in Amsterdam.
And they were
basically for the tourists.
Yeah.
because other places in the Netherlands, there wasn't a lot of that around.
Yeah. But that brings us to now talking a little bit more about the food. And we ate very well. Of course, one of the most popular foods there, it would be like going into a pub, ordering a beer, and getting something for a snack, like some
Chicken wings.
or French fries. Well, bitter balls are what they get. You explain what bitter balls are.
Bitter balls are deep fried round balls, and they're coated in a breadcrumb.
And they're deep fried. But what's in them?
And inside, if you bite into them, it is a gooey paste inside. And
that makes it sound appetizing.
I know it's gross, and no, it's like thickened gravy with, in most cases, beef.
It's the insides of a meat pie.
Yeah, well, without the vegetables.
Without the vegetables.
So that's sort of on the inside. It's usually a very stiffer than a meat pie paste, so it doesn't run all over the place. But that's basically what's in it. And you can get different kinds. You can get veal ones. You can get beef ones, which are the most popular. You can get chicken ones. And McDonald's was selling...
They had the McCroquette.
Cheese ones.
Were those cheese?
No, not the McCroquette, but you could get cheese bitter balls.
And bitter balls are just a smaller version of something a little bigger that looks more like a cylinder, or looks like a sausage, and those are called croquettes. And they're just like if you took a couple of bitter balls, mushed them all together into one long tube, kind of a thing.
They're about this. They're about 6 inches long, and that wide or whatever.
And if you order them in a restaurant, and they're a very popular thing to order, they'll serve them with some bread. And I was watching what people did with it, and what a lot of people do would take a croquette, put it on this slice of bread, and kind of mush it down with their fork, and then kind of fold the bread over and eat it like a sandwich. And they're usually served with mustard. The bitter balls are too, for dipping. And we get them here. We have a little bake store in the
we
town
have a
next
Dutch
door to
store,
us.
and they sell them there.
Like they're frozen there, and you just heat them up in your oven.
And I have made them.
Yeah,
I haven't made them in a long time, but I have made them before too. So I have a recipe for them.
But that's one of the most popular foods there. And as we already mentioned, McDonald's on TV was advertising for €2. They had the McCroquette. So we decided, and it's in one of the videos, and we tried this McCroquette. And basically it doesn't come like a sausage, like a tube. It came more like a patty kind of a thing, and on a hamburger bun. And actually it wasn't bad.
It wasn't bad. It didn't really have a lot of meat in it.
No.
But it was mostly paste.
Yeah.
But it tasted fine.
Yep.
It tasted like a croquette.
Yes.
So.
See, the bitter balls and the croquettes and that are things that I think when the Dutch go out the younger Dutch are out partying on a Friday or Saturday night, how when we were youngsters, you used to grab a slice of pizza at 2 o'clock in the morning. I think they grab a croquette or bitter balls or something like that.
Or like they have sections on, if you go to a pub or something, they'll have a section that says Borrels, which is drinks, right? Alcoholic drinks. And they'll have a section of what little appetizers, what they're snacks to have with your drink. And a lot of times they're bitter balls, or they'll have cubes of cheese that you can get, or other deep fried items.
Or if you want something really quick, you can go to the Fibo. And the Fibo, that was on one of the videos. Another name for that is the Automatique, which is, the things from, actually, there's something that here in North America were not all that popular, but I think there were some like in New York City or in different places like that. And they are basically vending machines in a wall with little doors. You put in your coins and you open it, the door, and you take out like whatever's in there. Well, they have that too, but a more modern version of it where you just like tap your credit card or whatever, your phone, to the thing, and the door opens up and you can get croquettes, bitter balls, and they have other things in there too.
Yeah, they had deep fried cheese patties, like they were coated, they were breaded, and they had You could get like a chicken burger or a hamburger in them,
Yeah.
or
Oh,
fries.
now the quality of the food in them is
Yeah,
questionable.
they weren't quite as good
No.
as the
But we
restaurant.
had to try it.
I tried the croquettes there. They weren't as good tasting as the restaurant
No.
ones. So.
But in one place we're in, I think it was good. They had something similar, but it's if you want to buy strop waffles. Strop waffles, I should have brought one down because we don't have any.
Yeah. In my can.
Oh, you've got the canned ones. But anyway, strop waffle is basically a cookie. It looks like it's round, but it's got markings like a waffle, and it's in between the layers of the top part and the bottom part is sort of a syrupy kind of thing, and so that's why they call it strop. Means
they
syrup.
call them syrup waffles.
Yeah, strop
waffles.
And you can get them in different types. Some are dipped with chocolate on the edge of them.
There was run up and get that canister.
Yeah, okay, get the canister and you'll sit down. So anyways, these are also very, very popular there. And I've had them before because I like them and we often will buy them at the Dutch store that's out here. But they had in Gouda something that looked like a fee bowl with all the little doors, but they had all kinds of strop waffles in it. But you went up to a screen, kind of like a what do you call it? Like how you order at McDonald's in these days now with the screen. And you could buy different products there. You just pushed on what you wanted. You saw the price. You clicked your credit card to it, and the little door would open up on the wall. You'd pick it up. So we bought a little bag of mini strop waffles just to try the system, but it was kind of cool, a bit gimmicky. I think it was for the tourists more than anything, but so here's the can.
This one's chocolate dipped. So the canister looks like this. I bought this at the airport. And I
have you not taken the seal off?
No. And inside is chocolate coated strop waffles.
Take one out to show. And I'll eat it. These ones got chocolate on them. Yum, yum. Yum, yum, yum.
Not too many of them in here.
Oh, no. So that's what they look like. See, it looks like a little waffle. Now, the regular ones don't have chocolate on them. These are little special ones. And how do they taste? Delicious. You really can't see the syrup in this one, but there is.
Yeah, there's a very thin layer of syrup in between them.
Well, that's good with the chocolate. Oh, yum, yum. Mm. Oh my God.
The vending machines they call there are automats as well.
Yeah.
Automatique, actually, there.
The Rocket says ice cream is so good in Europe. Yeah. It is. And what really got Walter going was the whipped cream. I mean, he was a whipped cream slut while we were over there.
Yeah, because a lot of times with if you get a piece of their Dutch apple pie or whatever, they'll serve it with whipped cream. But it is real whipped cream, and it is very high in fat content. It's not, and it's very solidly whipped, and they gave you a lot of it actually with it. So,
he just mentioned one of the foods that I was dying for, and I got several times. They call it apple pie. We would call it more of an apple tart or tort. Very thick. It's delicious, and of course that's where you get the whipped cream too, as well.
Yeah, actually, it has a buttery crust on it, and it's thick looking. It usually has straight walls on the side, and it's what they call an apple tart. Okay, so Steaming Bean says, question, how much should I spend on a sewing machine for a beginner model? What's that got to do with Holland? As much as you can afford. Yeah. They're all range. There is no rule. You buy one, go to an actual sewing machine store. Don't buy one at Walmart. Yeah. And ask them, get one that you can get repaired if you had a problem with it, because if you just go to Walmart and buy a Brother or something like that, they are basically unrepairable. So
Yeah, you're best to go to somebody that deals with them and tell them what it is that you want, and give them your budget for it, and they'll probably show you several different machines. So back to the regularly planned programming. So fries. All right. I knew this anyways before we went because I've had them before, but they don't have ketchup for fries. They all eat mayonnaise on their fries. And the fries come in cones. But I'm not talking the little pointy, little round one with the little point in the center down at the bottom. These look like someone has taken a piece of strong construction paper, and you know how you make a cone out of construction paper, that kind of thing. And they actually, it's a very attractive way.
Yeah, and actually that's how they serve it in restaurants a lot of times.
In fact, they have special little stands for your table that these cones fit into, but they serve them with mayonnaise. Now, I like mayonnaise to a point, but I was kind of missing ketchup and vinegar. We didn't have that many fries while we were there, but you had to try it.
And actually, if you went to some of the specialty fry stores, which we actually didn't really stop at any of them, they did have options for different kinds of fry toppings. They had a curry ketchup, and stuff like that.
It was sort of like a poutine, but not quite the same. But they had and there was one that was
Capsalon,
which basically looked like they had all this stuff with the fries on top of it, and on top of it they had salad. Well, come to learn, when I was thinking, when they said it was salad, I was thinking, and I wanted to try it. We never did get around to trying it because what they call salad over there is just chopped lettuce. They just sprinkled on top.
Yeah, so what they capsulon would be, it was fries with toppings. It could be shawarma or something like that. And then they put like mayonnaise on top of it or another kind of sauce. And then on top of that, they would have shredded lettuce.
Yeah. So that was a thing over there too. But one of the things I liked the best were the Dutch pancakes. We had those several times. And you can either, now you're going to say, well, pancakes. Yeah, pancakes are pancakes. No, they're not.
These are thin.
They're more like a crepe.
Yeah.
But not quite a crepe. They're kind of in between a crepe and a North America pancake.
They're not fluffy.
No, and they fill a plate. That's how they make them. And they put all kinds of things on top of them. And there's one place we went to in Amsterdam. We went there twice, actually. We went there the first day or second day. Oops, my fingers. Balloons! We went there, I guess, the first or the second day we were in Amsterdam. And you had that day what? The one with strawberries.
The first time we went there, I had one that had strawberries and whipped cream. And I had really thick whipped cream.
And I had the bananas and Nutella.
Yeah.
Yum, yum, yum. And then the last day we were in Amsterdam, when we came back, the day before we were leaving for home, we went there again, and this time you had...
Actually, their strawberries were in season when we were there, and so it was really...
The strawberries were really good.
The strawberries were really good. So, and the last day we went, and...
you got the
I got something called advocaat on it, which is a Dutch liqueur. It's an egg liqueur, and it sort of tastes like spiked eggnog, but it's thick like a pudding.
Yeah, and you got strawberries on it as well.
Yeah, so I had that with cream and strawberries. So,
and I had the apple and raisin and cinnamon and butter and strawberries on it as well. It was a healthy thing, and they came with whipped cream as well. So Walter was happy, but they are delicious. Absolutely love them. Walter's made them here at home too. Haven't made them in a while. Yeah. So if you go to Holland, you got to have a Dutch pancake. Now, Faith says, "Okay, Margaret," and I know what that references to. It's when I was eating the stroopwafel. Nobody else on here, only maybe a couple other people would get the reference. I was thinking that though, Faith. Steaming Bean says, I've been to Holland years ago and frequented the coffee shops. So when you say coffee shops, Steaming Bean, do you mean coffee shops that are basically where you can buy weed? Or do you mean coffee cafes where you can buy
Yeah, because
coffee?
in Amsterdam, anything that's called a coffee shop is actually a place that sells marijuana. And if you go to a cafe, you can get coffee there.
Yeah. So, yes, in Amsterdam especially. Didn't notice it in too many other places in Holland, but of course, weed is legal there like it is here in Canada. And yeah, there was a lot of weed. You smelled it all over the place. It felt like home. Yeah. It's so bad in Canada these days, you have to question, is that a weed or is that a skunk? Because to me, they both smell the same. But yeah. The Steaming Bean says, what inspired you to visit Amsterdam?
My Dutch heritage.
Walter is Dutch background. He's Canadian. But
Yeah, I wanted to go back. I went as a kid a few times to Holland to visit my grandparents, and I wanted to go back and visit.
And that is a good segue into the places we went to and what we liked and disliked. So one of the things that was biggie for Walter was to go to Zwolle. Zwolle is the
home. W-O-L-L-E. Zwolle.
Yeah. And, Steamy Bean says weed. Yeah. I kind of figured that's where you were going. But yeah, we went to Zwolle. That's the place that's just celebrated its 800th birthday. We had been to Zwolle before 21 years ago. And I remembered at the time when we went 21 years ago as being kind of a sleepy little place. Not so sleepy anymore.
No, they were, they have, the newer generation has changed the place.
And they had a market. One of the days we were there,
Yeah.
and there was lots of places to eat and whatnot. I quite enjoyed Zwolle.
Yeah, it was nice to go there.
And there was less bicycles. There were still bicycles, but I didn't fear that I was going to like suddenly be mowed down by them because
so
in Amsterdam,
we stayed there. Actually, we stayed there 3 nights, but on the last day that we were there, we did go to a different city to see not a castle, but what is that? One of the royal houses.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I still have relatives there. I still have relatives in Zwolle, but I don't talk to any of them.
So we went on a little walking tour because when Walter was a little gaffer, he'd been to Holland several times with his parents, and he hung out with his cousins and kind of a thing, and they rode their bikes all over people, and because that's a thing in Holland to do, kill people with your bike. So he wanted to go to where his grandparents used to live. Well, his one set would be your father's parents, right? Lived in downtown Zwolle.
Downtown Zwolle, but that area, the house that he lived in no longer exists.
So we saw the spot but there wasn't a plaque or anything saying here lies, or here was, a Vandergron. So then we went looking for where his maternal grandparents lived. And so we're in this residential area. Now, most houses in Amsterdam, well, throughout Holland, are townhouses. Okay, they're very small, they're very narrow, and they're like rows of them, long rows of them. So we're walking down this residential street, and they don't have much front yards, if any. Basically, if they had any grass in them, you could cut it with scissors, right? And they usually use their front lawns for a parking spot for their bicycles, kind of deal. So they usually have like a big front window on their house, and you're only 2 feet away from that window when you're walking down the sidewalk. So we're looking for the number, what he could remember of the house. His sister said it was one number. He said it was another number. So we were in the vicinity anyways. But you're kind of looking like you're looking for the numbers on these places. You're kind of looking into people's front.
You could, yeah.
Living rooms. If they don't,
I mean, there are no front.
And it's kind of like it was during the morning.
There's no lawns in the front.
There's no lawn. I just did that. Where were you?
Yeah.
And the whole bit. Well, at one point, we're walking up the street, and I looked in, and this lady standing in her window, and she goes. So I went. I'm sure she was trying to figure out what are these two guys doing peeking into our windows with it all. But yeah.
Yeah, we found Steaming Beans' places outside Amsterdam, but quite conservative. Actually, not now. People in Holland are very
They're very
modern,
progressive.
very progressive.
Yeah.
Lots of rainbow flags all over the place.
I mean, that doesn't stop them from having very particular rules.
Right.
And they're not afraid to tell you when you have broke one of the social niceties. Even though you're a perfect stranger, it doesn't matter. They will walk up to you and tell you this. And we had an example of this when we were sitting in first class on the train. The car was divided between first class and second class. There was a glass partition and a door, kind of a thing. We were the only two people in the first class section on this particular day. And we were kind of talking. We weren't being loud or obnoxious or anything. We were kind of whispering. But we didn't realize it, but Walter mentioned it earlier. On the window of this car, it did say in Dutch, silent. This was one of those cars where it was for people who did not want any talking. They were maybe working on their laptop or plugged into their headphones or whatever. So this lady who came out of second class came in and told us in no uncertain terms that this was a silent car. And I went, oh, I said, I'm so sorry. My bad, kind of a thing. And off she went back. But the ironic part was, she's in second class, we're in first class, fuck off. But, I didn't do that. But yeah, we were in the wrong, but we weren't being that boisterous. But they have no problem reprimanding you. Doesn't matter whether they know you or not. They're not shy about it. So, but we were at fault.
But I mean, we didn't really find it, if you're talking about it being conservative, as in...
Yeah, I don't find them bad in Amsterdam.
No, they're
definitely not.
They aren't in Amsterdam. They are not anywhere else. Like when we were in Utrecht, I didn't realize... I knew that in August, in Amsterdam, it's the Pride Festival then. I kind of assumed all the rest of Holland was the same date. But I guess in Utrecht, theirs is on June 7th or something like that, their Pride Festival. And as we were leaving in the mall our hotel was in a mall.
Not a mall, a shopping center.
Yeah, a shopping center.
Many-leveled, huge shopping center.
Yeah, so actually the entrance to our hotel was in shopping center. And as we were leaving, they were putting down a gigantic rainbow flag down the center.
Carpet
walkway in the center of the mall.
Yeah.
So
that led right up to the railway station.
And there were signs everywhere. There are Pride festivities. So they definitely are not.
They are a very liberal country. In Amsterdam, we went to the Sex Museum.
And in fact, we did hear several times there that in the Netherlands, they are very embrace all cultures. Yeah. Including sexual orientation.
Yeah. So, but this sex museum we went into, I didn't really want to go, but Walter had to go and see the sex museum. So we went into the sex museum, and it was funny. But
there was some woman in there spending lots of time
with a very giant phallus.
Yeah,
they
had a statue of a penis that was about 8 feet
I tried to be polite and call it phallus,
and she was like with it. All over it.
This huge dick.
and somebody was taking fashion pictures of her on
and she was hugging it and caressing it. Oh, it was just creepy with it. So, and she took multiple, she was not there just for a couple of quick snaps. They were there for 10 minutes.
Half an hour.
Or more. Okay. You've never seen one of those in captivity? What?
I guess not. She may not have it at home.
I don't know. But anyways, I think ironically, they might have been a couple of lesbians. But okay. Whatever. Barb says, people seem to be very loud and boisterous.
Well, in the Netherlands, they do tend to be a little loud.
Yeah, they are.
But I mean, when you're in Amsterdam, there's all kinds of tourists there from all over the world, so you can't really
Amsterdam is a party city.
Yeah, and so it's hard to distinguish the Dutch people from the tourists there.
Yeah.
And unless you got into the city like Zwolle, where my parents came from, and then we did notice they didn't have as many North American tourists there, if they had any tourists. they may have come from other areas of Europe.
In fact, another thing that was, besides getting reprimanded on the train, is when we were in the hotel in Zwolle, I wanted some ice, ice cubes, kind of a thing. Well, they didn't have any ice machines. And we had stayed at this same hotel 21 years ago, but they had obviously had done a lot of upgrading and refurbishing it from the time we stayed there before. It was a lovely place. So I went to the front desk and I said, "Hi, is there any way that I could get some ice?"
Now, the other thing that some words have two different meanings or whatever. The other thing
Why don't you jump right ahead?
The other thing that they call ice, if somebody says they want ice
you just keep on
the
going.
Netherlands, it's ice cream.
Okay, had to finish that, didn't you? I was building up to that. I had a whole thing in between,
okay, go ahead.
But you just jumped right in there and went right to the punchline. So great for you. Anyways, there's no point in saying any more about it because he basically did it.
Well, they thought he meant ice cream, but they had a hard time explaining that they wanted ice cubes.
No. Yeah. And I felt very much like an American when I did this, when I was asking them, because on a trip we went on many, many, many years ago in Britain on a bus tour when we were much younger, there were some American girls on that. And in those days in England, most things came at room temperature. They didn't really give you ice and anything. And they had ordered a couple of Cokes and wanted ice. And the waiter held it up and says, "No, it's cold enough." And then he finally did bring them one ice cube each, plugged it in their glass. So it was kind of funny and I thought, okay, well, now that those days, are different the way, the world is, it's a much smaller place, the world. Not to these girls. They thought I was they were very confused with it. And so anyways, as Walter went right to it, they thought I was talking about ice cream. Eventually I got ice, but I had to go to the bar to get it, and they didn't have anything to put it in except a beer glass. Just so would that be enough? And I said, that'll do.
And even places like we stayed in Utrecht, we stayed in the Crown Plaza Hotel. And in the Crown Plaza, they did not have ice machines.
Did they?
No, they didn't.
No, they didn't either. So don't. If you're somebody that really likes a lot of ice, not probably the place to go with it. But every place we stayed, though, was nice. We didn't have any accommodation of it. But Walter did a lot of research, too, for that. And we weren't staying at the most expensive, highest end.
No, but we weren't staying at the cheapest.
But we weren't staying in Peasantville.
So,
no, we're beyond those days now with that. So places we liked and everything, well, they all have their own unique character. I would suggest that if you want to go to the Netherlands, that don't bypass Amsterdam. You don't have to spend a lot of time in Amsterdam. Like 2 days is probably plenty with it, but you need to see it because you're going to get a real flavor for what Holland is like there. If you decide to skip it and go right to Rotterdam, you're going to miss out on what truly Holland is, or the Netherlands really are, because like we said, it's all very modern there. It doesn't look that much different from most North American cities.
Yeah, but then also don't just go to Amsterdam. Go to some of the
other places too. Like go to Delft, go to Zwolle, go to Gouda, go to The Hague. We went to The Hague.
The other place that might be a good one to go to if you're a tourist is Utrecht, which is like Amsterdam but less touristy. So
yeah, so because you're missing out.
Yeah,
Amsterdam is an experience, and it's nothing to be afraid of. It's just if you go at, like right now, they're moving into their height of their tourist season. We were just at the very beginning of it. Amsterdam is a very, very busy city, so just be warned.
I mean, their two busiest months are July and August.
Yeah,
and there is a concern in Amsterdam these days that there's too many tourists coming in.
Yeah, but other places that I really liked, I liked Gouda, and you saw the video where it's a bit cheesy, Gouda, because somebody made a comment that, oh well, that's all very cheesy with the people dressed up in traditional outfits. It's supposed to be. It's theater. They do that for the tourists to give them. You get a kick out of it. You know, it's just for entertainment purposes. You know, it's not the real thing. They're just reenacting what it may have been like 100 years ago or something at the cheese market. So, you know, some people just get too serious about these things. Delft, I was surprised at. I liked Delft. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Delft pottery, and that's the stuff that's all in the blues and whites, but they have colored Delft too. I didn't know that. And we went to the museum, and that was really interesting. I thought there. So, you know, those are places that we got to. The Hague is, the Hague is the Hague. It's really, it's a well, it's their capital, it's
Their head of
government there. So, you know, it's like going to Ottawa or DC, I suppose. I've
Yeah,
never been
so-
to DC, so I don't sure exactly. But yeah, so it's a bit boring. But yeah, but that was the beauty of staying in Rotterdam and taking the train everywhere, because, you know, we weren't trapped in any
No.
of these places or felt like it, you know. The other thing that was really cool that sticks in my mind, and Walter had found this out before we went and wanted to go to it, is when we were in Utrecht, there is a museum of huge music boxes, and it's a whole history. You take a little tour and they play these for it, and that was all on that video that I made of it. And these are these great big huge things that are on wheels that they'll wheel out, and we saw one actually in the streets of Utrecht. Was it Utrecht where that one was? On that, and they were playing it, but they want money, you know. So I was doing some video of it, and they've got a little can and they shake it, you know. And luckily I had a two euro coin in my pocket, so I plugged it in for them. But that was a very fascinating museum. And when we were there, I bought a little music box. So I've got a little video of me playing the music box at home here to show you. Just put it up here, and hopefully you'll be able to hear. This is a tourist gimmick thing. It was in, you know, in the obligatory gift store that every museum has. And let me switch this over. And here we go. Hopefully you can hear it.
It looks so serious.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to concentrate on the camera. Wasn't that thrilling? Yeah. Anyways, yeah, I got a little music.
Somebody
box.
asked how much tube cheese we brought home.
Oh, none.
It has to be refrigerated.
Yeah. And that's the problem. So actually we threw it out. We had a couple of crackers.
It needs to be refrigerated. They don't have a lot of additives in their stuff there.
No. But it was good. I wish I'd known about it at the first part of our trip, because I would have like got some more of it and had that, you know, when we were having like drinkies in the hotel room and things like that. But we happened to see a YouTube video of someone talking about they were German. They lived in Germany and they came to the Netherlands, to Amsterdam, and they were hitting different grocery store to pick up things they can't get in Germany. And that gave us the idea, like, maybe we should look at some unusual things in the grocery store and do a little taste test. So that was what that was all about on that video. One thing about paying for things in there, whether you're in a grocery store, the transportation system, the train system, museums, that everything is absolutely electronic. We took 300 euros cash. We came home with 295 euros cash, and the only reason we spent 5 euros is because we were in a market and they were making them fresh stroopwafels, and they were $3 for this huge stroopwafel, like about 3 times the size of the one that I just showed you. And Walter told me to pay cash.
I told him pay cash because I wanted some coin.
No. And what did you do with that coin?
And you ended up
giving it to the hurly-gurly, or whatever you call those things.
Yeah.
The Orient thing. But anyways, but everything. And in fact, in some places, or many places, it said no cash.
Yeah, it was credit only.
Or as they called it, PIN.
PIN only. It was debit card only or credit card only.
And I used my watch. My Apple Pay for everything. everything. I just boom, boom, boom.
Restaurants, everything, because
Right.
they bring your payment to the table, and you just
Yeah. I mean, we have that in Canada, and more in Canada, we are moving to a completely cashless society. The Netherlands, this is what I'm going to say. Europe is that much more ahead of us. Canada is ahead of the States when it comes to electronic payments. We know that. It's a pain in the butt when you go down to the States. Yet you still have people that take your credit card away from you and go to a counter and do whatever with it and bring it back, and you have to sign it. Like, not in all places. It depends on the state, I guess, and wherever you are. But in Canada, like,
no.
no.
We all every restaurant they bring payment to the table. So
Yeah. So, anyways, and the Netherlands are just that much further ahead.
and you don't usually tip in the Netherlands. So
No, which is very nice too. The only thing is, and I kept bugging Walter about this, is, oh, that's only $2. Euros.
yeah, I know. I did
Euros
that.
are not the
I
same
fell
as a
into that.
dollar.
No, I know that.
Okay, it costs us more when you see €2 as opposed to $2.
Yeah, it was more like
With it.
1.5. So
Yeah, with it all, so 1.5 times more
Mhm.
for that kind of thing. So Cheryl says, looks like it's the size of a credit card. Cute, perfect souvenir. Yeah, it's only a little tiny little box. Yeah, it's a little novelty kind of a thing, but had a habit. They had one that played Beatles songs, Yellow Submarine and Yesterday.
Yeah, actually, they had people playing. They had these music organs that they'd play on the street in different cities, and I knew that from when I was a kid, and they still did that. And they had modern songs on it, like ABBA.
Yeah. And Barb says the Music Box Place has a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Andy says, I have Delft style blue dishes by Spode. I love it. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Delft. Like, it's just,
I've never been a big fan of the Blue Delft. I do have.
we do have a colored piece of Delft that you got. That was your parents, your mother's.
Yeah, my mother had it.
And anyways, but yeah, everything is electronic paid. So memorable moments. Well, we talked about being told to shut up on the train. Asking for ice and swallow. Okay, attitude at a quilt shop. All right, I have to be honest about it. It was my bad. We went into this place that was more of a notion shop, supposedly, and it was tiny, tiny, tiny. But like I said, real estate there is at a premium. It was fairly busy. There were a number of ladies in there, but most of their fabrics were for dressmaking, clothes making, that kind of thing. And they had ribbons, and they had rickrack, and they had buttons and stuff like that. So I was doing video, and you probably saw it if you saw that one video. And I was being conscious of not trying to keep people's faces out of the videos and things like that. Because when I'm in someplace like that, I will do that. Because, not everybody wants to be on your video for YouTube. Well, I don't know if she was the owner of the store, but she was definitely staff. Kind of got nasty with me. Don't take video. Like I said, the Dutch are very upfront and blunt. And I went, oh, I'm sorry. And I made a joke out of it. And I said to her, oh, you don't want to be on YouTube? I said, I'm an influencer. Thing, right? And she went, people don't want their faces shown. I said, well, I'm being very cautious not to. She, did you ask to do this? Got me there. Nope, I did not. I usually do. I didn't that particular day. So yeah, my bad. And I went, no, I said, I'm so sorry. I will stop this. I won't take any more. And she goes, well, let's be passive aggressive about it. Well, you can take picture. You can take it of the fabric. Oh no, I'm not taking any more, honey. I didn't say this to her, but I went, you told me I can't take any. I'm not taking any. Yeah. And besides, your shop is crappy and your fabric is shit. Things that go through my head. Okay, if you lived inside my head, well, you'd need a tranquilizer or two. But anyways, we did look at her fabric. We asked her if she had any quilting cotton, and she pointed us to some stuff.
I asked her if she had, I looked like it was 100% cotton. I asked her if it was 100% cotton. I didn't ask her about quilting cotton.
Okay, sorry. And her answer was,
said, yes, it was. But then she said some of it was 95%.
Yeah. So, yeah, yes, it is. No, it's not. This is what we're dealing with here. Okay, might be, might not be, but anyways, we felt it.
It wasn't very
It
good.
wasn't very good.
Very good quality.
It was kind of crap, and this inside of this store looked kind of crappy.
Now they
as well.
sold that what do you call it? The stuff that we bought at the market in
Oh,
that
yeah.
store as well. And it was much more expensive
A lot more
than what we paid in the market.
A lot more. So yeah, don't recommend that place. Yeah, the other thing that's memorable is trying not to get killed by being run over by bicycles. It's like when you go to take a picture at a tourist spot and there's nobody there, and suddenly, just as you're about to click the picture, 3 Asians pop up with their cameras. Okay, in Amsterdam, the equivalent is you look both ways on the street before you cross it. There's not a bike in sight. You're safe. You start to take a walk in the street. Suddenly 3 come out of nowhere, and they're ringing their little bells. They're going ding 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 ding.
Yeah.
Ding.
Well, the other thing we found in Amsterdam is they have like stripes on the road as for a crosswalk, right? And cars are supposed to stop.
Yeah, that's the suggestion.
Cars will stop, but bikes won't.
Bikes don't. They just so if the car doesn't kill you, the bike will, or worse. In some spots, you have bicycles, cars, and a tram. Nobody stops. And again, you look both ways. You're very conscious. Suddenly there's a tram and a bicycle, both going to want to kill you at the same time. You go, ah! So, yeah, it was, especially in Amsterdam. It's really bad there. But, yeah, so beware of that kind of thing. And one of the more satisfying moments was when we were on the train and we were in first class, and there were some people all getting on the train, and so they decided they wanted to sit in first class as well. So in they came. Fine. You bought your ticket, but they have people who come around and check your ticket faithfully. So they have an electronic device. You hold out your phone that had your ticket on it, and it reads that, and it knows whether you're first or second class. And if you didn't buy a first class ticket, you're out of there. And these ones kind of put up some kind of excuse like, oh, we didn't know. Oh, so sorry. Okay, are you getting a hint of possibly what their nationality might have really been? If you ever watch Border Security on YouTube, you'll know what I'm talking about. Oh, we didn't know. Yeah, they weren't getting by with that one on this woman. Second class, that way. Go. And they had to. Because I said to Walter at the first day we were on, because we didn't see anybody coming around checking, and I says, how would they know that we even have a ticket? And he said, well, they probably come around and periodically check or whatever. And he looked into it, and there's a fine. If they
it's only about 50 euros, but still
it's more than the ticket that you could purchase with it. So, but I felt a certain amount of joy, like, hello, who let you plebes in?
Yeah, so it turned out that there's about 4 other seats taken. There was a lady that's sitting across from us, and there was us, and then about 4 other people came in and sat in seats, and those 4 were second-class citizens.
Yep. Bye. I don't get out much, so that was a thrill. But anyways, yeah, so overall, it was a great trip. I'm a little bit afraid that when we go to London, and we've been to London before, and we love London. But after this, very good, because I'll admit I was very apprehensive about this trip going to Holland.
Yeah, he was.
And Walter wasn't helping me because he's watching all these videos and sending me links to them, showing me about people who wanted to kill you and steal from you. So yeah.
So anyway, so he wasn't too keen on going, but he went, and
I went for his sake.
He was happy with it because you ate good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was great. It was a great trip. One of our best, I think. And now that it's all paid for, now we can start racking up the credit for this next trip. But anyways, and as far as comments were concerned on our videos for that time, we had a lot of people said they really enjoyed the videos that we posted and said it felt like they were there with us. And yes, we did go through the museums, the art galleries and things, and we had several comments from various people. We had one from one woman who was, I don't think, probably subscribing anymore to the channel, because I basically told her to shut up and unsubscribe. She didn't like the fact that I didn't stand in front of every placard next to every painting and read all the details and tell you who painted and that. Well, guess what? This is how we do museums. In, out. Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. That's nice. If it's something that really stands out and I want to know, I'll read the placard. Otherwise, I will never remember that information. It's why we don't usually take a guided tour through those kind of places or get the audio thing because I'm not going to remember. And the other thing is, in this modern day and age of the internet, you see something you like and you want to know more about it, Google it. It's there.
Barb just asked, was there any time where you felt unsafe?
Nope.
Never.
Nope. I mean, we were very cautious.
Yeah, we were careful.
Yeah, there was one time when I felt a little uneasy when we were in the red light district and we went through the street where the girls are in the windows displaying what you could purchase, kind of a thing, because that's what they do there. And it's kind of a dark and seedy area. It was during broad daylight.
Yeah.
Which was one thing. I wouldn't want to have been down there at nighttime. But that was the only time, and that was momentary. I mean, because that,
but I mean,
one block long
one thing we did notice is that there were very, very few people trying to panhandle or something.
Yes. Anywhere we went in the Netherlands, we only on a rare occasion did we see anybody.
Maybe saw one or two, but that's about it.
Yeah. And they weren't aggressive.
And there are no seedy areas.
No, we didn't walk, and we have a tendency to walk into seedy areas. The closest thing we came to a seedy area was the window shopping in the red light district.
And even that wasn't bad.
And that was horrible or anything like that. So yeah. Charlotte says, I really appreciate all the vacation videos. Thank you both for that. Well, you're welcome, Charlotte. And I'm glad that people enjoyed those. Oh, and one of the things that was going on while we were over there, and we did talk about it, was Eurovision. And Eurovision is a big competition with European countries, a music competition. And you can go on to YouTube and you can watch Eurovision on there, like see the competition. It is a humongous thing in Europe, and the Netherlands were involved with it as well. It wasn't being hosted by the Netherlands. It was being hosted in Sweden. Yeah, Sweden hosted it, I think, this year. But the stage production is nothing you have ever seen that comes even close to any kind of productions in our countries over here. So if you've never seen it, you should check it out on YouTube, because it is fantastic. And so it was kind of nice because usually when we see it, it's after the fact on YouTube. We could watch it live. The final night, it runs like 4 hours. The final part of the competition, but we could watch it while we were in Netherlands live. So that was kind of cool. At the time, we didn't know it was happening at that time, but it did.
Yeah, Barb's asking, is there police walking on the streets? The only time I really noticed it was in Amsterdam. There seemed to be a fair bit of police.
There were police
there's
around.
A lot of tourists in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
And in the other cities, they weren't as noticeable that you've noticed, but other cities didn't have as high a tourism as Amsterdam. Yeah. Amsterdam has got a lot of tourists.
I mean, you still, anywhere you go in the world, it doesn't matter whether it's on this side of the Atlantic or over on the other side of the Atlantic. You have to use common sense. You have to, be aware of your surroundings and the people in those surroundings as well. Don't leave your purse hanging over the back of a chair in an open air cafe. Don't put your wallet in your back pocket. Put it in the front. Don't carry a whole lot of cash on you, because you never know. But I never felt threatened or afraid in that. So,
Carol Wickard.
Stephen, how's your mother doing? Been gone from here a while. Ooh, you have been. She's dead. She died in 2021. Thanks for asking. Seriously, Carol. Yeah, she is. She passed away in 2021. Yeah. Vicky says, when you go to England, will you be filming that trip? Oh yeah, of course I will be. And hopefully the technology there will be as good as it was in the Netherlands, because only one place we stayed, and that was in Zwolle, where the internet connection didn't seem to be so good. And then I figured out that I wasn't connected to the right thing. So yeah, it was slow. But once I figured that out, it was fine. But no, didn't have any problem. And if you caught some of the lives, you would see too. It was just like right now.
Yeah, yeah. Dubravka. The only homeless we sort of saw was in Utrecht. There were a couple of people
Yeah.
on the street, but other than that, we didn't see any anywhere else.
No. But you see, they have a system of government too that looks after their people. You know, like something similar to ours in Canada, but probably a little better than what we have with it. So, yeah. But, yeah, you don't need to fear anything. And people, for the most part, you know, with the exception of the one on the train who, you know, and the one in the quilt store, are very nice. No problem. They switch right over to English. No problem. If you don't speak any Dutch or whatever, one guy that was in Utrecht when we were walking down the street and saw the place with the flying saucer on the roof, and this guy saw us looking at that and wondering about what that was all about.
He stopped and
He
gave
stopped
us a
and
history.
gave us a history lesson of that one, the whole bit. In fact, to the point where, okay, well, thank you for that. Now it's time to move on. No, really, you got more to say? Oh God, I didn't pay for this lecture. But I mean, it was very nice of him to do so.
Yeah, it was clean. It was normal.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
It was obviously a different city. It was a different city location in the world, but
Yeah. It's okay, Carol, not to worry about it. So, I had a Omari terror of a mum. Oh, she died August of 2021. Oh, okay. Well, you know, they say the wicked die young. Or not at all. But yeah. But yeah, sorry for your loss, but you know, that's a discussion on some other level. I'm good. I'm good. Over that. Okay, people, we've gone way over time lately. So Barb says, would you ever consider moving there? Oh, hell no.
Maybe when I was a lot younger, but not now.
No way. If I was ever going to immigrate, and I'm not now because I'm too old to do it, it would be to Australia. But no, I love Canada. I'm a Canadian. We're Canadians. Yeah, this is our home, you know, with all its flaws and everything else, you know, but yeah, and I'm sure that
You begin to miss ketchup too much, right?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I'd miss my ketchup and my vinegar and stuff like that. Yep. So, yeah, no, would never consider it. It's great to visit. It's nice to be home as well, you know, that kind of thing. So anyways, that's it for us today. Thanks for joining us all. Hope to see some of you on Wednesday. All are welcome. And I'm back on my regular video routine. And live next Sunday. And Pop-Up Sew Day, June 21st. But there'll be more to be said about that then. So hope everybody has a good what's left of today and everything. And take care. And we'll see you